Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to go through and teach you very quickly. This is not going to be extensive and in a huge depth, but I want to give you the basics so that if you have upgraded and got the Zoom webinar add-on, you can see over here it says webinars, how to set up a quick webinar. And then we're going to go into the webinar once the webinar is running and show you a little bit about that. So I'm going to do this kind of in two phases and kind of just stitch them together and make one video out of it. So I hope this will help you. So first, let's start with this part right here. And this portion is the simple portion. So if you would all you need to do is click on webinars. And again, if you've upgraded, you can see this is where I have the recurring Saturday training webinars that go on every week. And this is exactly where, I go and click on this little start here and get the webinar going. Okay, but we're gonna start from scratch. And all you do is you just click on schedule a webinar. All right. And it's pretty straightforward. Now, for some reason, every once in a while, mine goes out of the, and it just did it. See that? Goes out of the edit mode and acts like it's done and automatically. So I have to go down here and click on edit this webinar again. And now it works fine. Second time. I don't know. I need to send the thing into them and say, hey, why does that happen? But I just have not done that. So here's what you do. You would name this, obviously, something that you could remember, and I believe that title, if you're going to use a registration page, is going to be on the registration page so people know what it is and so forth. Again, you can put a description in here if you are going to use a registration page and require them to register before the webinar. And like I said, this is so very, very straightforward. Here you would pick the date, the time that it's going to be, how long you think it's going to last. And again, you don't have to be exact. It's not like if you put in an hour there and you go an hour and a half, it kicks off or it shuts you down or anything like that. Here's where you can decide, like what I did with the Saturday trainings, whether it's a recurring meeting. So if you click recurring here, you can tell whether it's weekly, daily, monthly, and so forth. Okay. Required registration. If you click this, that means that people have to register to get the link to go to the webinar, right? So for most of the webinars, probably almost all of the webinars I set up, I don't use that because I just want to give them the link and have people join, right? Now, if I was doing something where I wanted to collect the leads, I wanted to, collect the people's names and emails and so forth, then I would do that, but I don't. So if you're looking to do that, there's videos, extensive videos on how to set your webinar up that will tell you, how you set up that registration. If you just put required here, it does a basic one all automatically for you and so forth. Typically, I always just click these both on. Video for the host and the panelist automatically come on. That way, when I upgrade someone to a panelist, and I'm going to show you that in the next section, when they join, their video automatically comes on. On the audio, you give them an option, whether they can either do telephone or computer audio. I usually have this always set to both. I don't want to limit it, okay? If you wanted to password protect it so that you could limit again who gets to it, maybe you've charged for it or something like that. Down here, you can, if you put a check mark in Q&A, then that when we get to that section where we're actually the webinar is going, you'll see down at the bottom there's a button for Q&A so that they can ask questions and so forth. Enabling a practice session. I'm gonna click on that right now so that you can see that. It says basically, if once you start it, you'll see that it says you're in the practice mode, and you can set things up and everything else, but I don't believe anybody can join at that point. You're just checking it out, testing it, and so forth. Okay. If you make this a webinar on demand, it kind of makes it like a replay webinar that people can go back to the same link and that they used to go to it in the first place and see the replay of it and so forth. So sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I don't use it. Record the webinar automatically in the cloud. I've got mine set up to use the cloud. Depending on your version of what you paid for, depends on whether or not how much cloud space you have that they've given you, or whether or not you want to record it to your computer. Now, I will tell you this: for me, the few times I've tried to record it to my computer, it makes it really choppy, and it's just depending. Unless you have a really high-end computer, it can slow things down and make it look weird. So I don't do that. Okay. We have some advanced options here if you wanted to put an alternate host. So sometimes Carlos is a great example. Sometimes I can put him in there as an alternate host, put his email in there, and then it sends him an email with a different link and so forth. So once you're done, you just hit save. Okay, so now your webinar is ready to go. So the nice thing is that here you can add them to your calendars, so it's you don't forget them, obviously. But if you scroll down here, okay, so here it says webinar size. So depending on what version you have. And then here's the registration URL. And I don't remember, did we? I'm going to go back into this real quick because I thought we did not make the. Oh yeah, we did. We kept that required. So I'm going to get rid of that. Oops. See how and I got to figure out why it does that. I just don't know. Need to put that on my to-do list. Okay, so if I go back to down here, you'll see, here's the link to join. So if you just click on that, you see how it says copy to clipboard. Now you can paste that on your Facebook page or your profile or whatever, send it out in an email, whatever you want to do to invite people, okay? But that's the link that you would send them to it, okay? If you wanted to invite some people, if I click edit over here for panelists, I can send them a special link so that they don't go into the managed participants under attendees. They automatically, if they use the link that I send them, they automatically come in as a panelist. I don't have to worry about, oops, I forgot to, where are they? I forgot to promote them to a panelist and all that stuff. So typically, like if I've got a guest speaker like Robert Hollis or Melody Ryba or, the Bartletts or the Barfields or things like that. So I send them a panelist link so that they can come right in and join us. And I think Carlos has that too. Okay. So this is, from here, this is all I ever really do. Now, you can come in here and you can, modify these email settings. You can do some branding if you wanted to upload a banner and a logo that show up on there. If you wanted to create a poll, Q&A, you can, set up some of the settings for the Q&A. Integration I don't deal with. And then live streaming here, this just tells you, after launching a webinar, click the More button and then choose the service you want to go on. So it's just an informational tab because we're going to do that once we launch the webinar. So for basically, and I've done this before too, is that once I've got it set up the way I want, I can save this webinar as a template. And then I can just use it anytime I want. I can just say, start a new webinar, use this template, and that's very, very handy and quick to do. So that's really all you need to do to set up a webinar. And now when it's ready to go, you're going to click on Start This Webinar. Okay. So I'm going to pause this video right now. Okay. I clicked on Start This Webinar. All right. So the first thing you're going to see is it's going to open up a tab in your browser. And I certainly would recommend you use Chrome. It works the best with everything out there right now. And you're going to get this screen. And because, remember, we chose the practice mode. It says practice mode only. Attendees cannot join until you broadcast. All right. So nobody can join your webinar at this point in time, but you can go through some setups and check things out. So I just always click on this green button here that says join with computer audio. Okay. So now we're basically ready to go. And I'm going to kind of go through these buttons down here. This is obviously, this would mute my audio. This would turn on my camera and turn it off. Participants. Now this page here, this is where as people come in, unless they have a panelist link, everybody else on that link you gave them, when they come in, they're going to come in as an attendee. And as they come in as an attendee, Their name is going to show up over here, and on the side here, there's going to be, I think it says more. And if you click on that, a drop down will pop up that says promote to panelists. And once you do that, it allows them to join in the group here, so that now you can see them. Now, as a attendee, they can hear, they can see you, they can do all of that stuff, but they can't. The only interaction they have is through either the Q&A or the chat. Okay, and as you can see down here, here's our Q&A button. Here's if we want to put a poll together, or if we have some polls put together. This allows me to share. You can see all the different, I can share a whiteboard and start drawing on it, and everybody sees that. Here's the different applications I've got open, and so forth. Okay. Now here's one trick I'll tell you. If you are going to share, let's say you want to share a video, YouTube video or some other video that you have on your computer maybe, you need to make sure that you click these two check boxes right here, so that it's not trying to, the sound isn't coming through whatever microphone you're using. It's actually coming from your computer, much cleaner. It doesn't, then if you are talking or something like that, no one's going to hear it because they're going to hear the sound coming through your computer. Okay, makes it a lot cleaner. Here, chat button. I mean, everybody knows what the chat is. Here they can chat, or they can drop this down and do a private message. If there are other people on this, a list of those people would be there, and you could do a private chat back and forth to any of the people that are attending. So let's go here. Now under the More button, with the webinars, you've got these options here that you don't. Actually, on the meetings, you have the option to go live in the workspace, but you don't have live on Facebook or live on YouTube. Okay, so if you've set it to record automatically, then the record will be up here in the top. Now, a lot of times, even though I've got it set to record automatically, I may stop it because I might be doing some preliminary stuff that I don't want a part of the recording, and then I've just got to remember to come down here under the More and record it to cloud at the proper time, okay? But let's go through live on Facebook real quick, because that's where most people, one of the reasons you want to upgrade to webinars so you can do that, because now you expand your audience by not only however many people you can have on the webinar itself, but then all those watching the live, which is unlimited, right? So when you say share on, go live on Facebook, this window will open up in your default browser, whether it's Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, whatever it might be, Safari. And here are your options, which are really cool. You can share on a friend's timeline. So when I'm doing an interview with somebody, I get them on, set up a webinar for them. I get them on. It's just the two of us. We don't, let typically anybody else unless we have other guests. And then I go share on their timeline. And let's say I want to share this on Carlos. I start typing in their name, and boom, there they are. And then I would choose that person. Okay. If I wanted to go to a group, like on Saturday mornings, I go live in the Deering Dream Team. So I would do the same thing. Share in a group. I start typing. There it is. And I go live. Okay, so a lot of times I will use the webinar, just even do a single live in the group or on my page, so that I can record it cleanly. Instead of having to download it from Facebook or anything like that, I can record it very clean, high quality in Zoom, and then I can use it and put it on YouTube or Vimeo or wherever else I want to use it. Okay, so now to go live, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this out, and because this is a lot of times what you might end up doing. And if you want to go on your own timeline, then you would just go here, right? So, and you can share it in an event. So if I wanted to, see weekly Saturday training, let's say I wanted to go live on that event. I've never tried that before. I don't know really what that means, but I'm just going to go, I want to do this on a friends just so you can see. So I'm going to go choose Carlos. And then you click next, and we won't actually go live, but so now it's going to go through the setup, and it's going to get you to a point of giving you a lot of other options, but it's really straightforward from this point. If you were using a third-party system that like OBS or Wireframe or I don't know, there's a bunch of them out there, that these studios that you can get. that allow you to tie in, and they're going to ask, they want to know about these streaming things over here. In this case, we're not using that. So all we would do is just put some text in here, interview with Carlos Martinez, and when we're ready to go live, you just click, boom, go live. That's all there is to it. Then typically I will wait till it comes up and it's there again, and then I get rid of it so that I don't have all of the bandwidth being used and so forth. And you can see this says preparing because I didn't go any further. So that's all there is to go live. And you can watch this over and over again, go back. It's just a couple of steps, you just boom. Now, you need to make sure that if you're going live in a group or especially in someone else's profile, that they go into their settings on their profile and go to timeline and tagging. And the first two options up there the first one needs to be set to friends, and you need to make sure you're friends with them. And then the second one says, because the first one says who can publish to my timeline kind of thing. So you just say, I'm gonna end this meeting, get out of this real quick, and let's go Facebook. Okay, so you need to make sure come on a second. You go into settings here, you click that little down arrow there, you go to timeline and tagging, make sure who can post on your timeline, friends, who can see what others post, everyone, okay? Because if you don't set it to that, then people, I think the default, if we go into edit here, I think the default is either only me or my friends, or you can do custom. I think the default's only me. So, and it may even be just friends, but even then, if people are trying to watch your interview that aren't your friends, they're not going to be allowed to. So I just have everybody set it to everyone. That way you can, have no issues with it, and everybody gets to see it. And we've had a couple of that have done that. Have been a challenge because people can't see it. So that is basically it, and how you do your Zoom webinar setup. And that's the basics. And again, Zoom has tons of tutorial videos that you can go through and look at the details. Maybe you want to know more about and make it on demand and things like that. If you want to get into that kind of depth, I would just suggest going into their tutorials and doing a search on that particular item and going through it. But that's essentially how you set up a quick webinar and then how you use it once you've got out there. So I hope this has helped, and I will get this out and put it in the Dream Team group so you guys can all, watch it and use Zoom as best you can. God bless everybody, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay, I wanted to add this little additional excerpt on here because I forgot, and Carlos had mentioned this the first time, and I just spaced it out. You may have noticed that when I clicked on participants or Q&A, or chat. Again, I'm gonna. Okay. Normally, what you'll see, and I don't think polling in those have that option, but normally what you'll see, the initial default setup is when you click on either participants or chat, they come up over on this right side here, and you'll see then if you click on both, you have the chat and you have the participants. I a lot of times will undock those, if you will, so that I can move them around because I have two monitors. So I can put that off to the side, and that way I'm not having to worry about it taking up, the sidebar here and so forth, because I'm looking at my laptop and that's a smaller screen and so forth. So just a preference issue, but I understand, when Carlos had brought it up, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, some people are going to wonder why theirs isn't like that. So you have an option. The default is, I believe that it's docked over here, and then you can go over here and you can choose pop out, and then it becomes like this. And this is how I normally do it. If I wanted to go back, I would come over here and I'd say merge to meeting, and it would do the same. And the same thing with the chat. Okay. Now, if you just want to close them, the simplest way is to click on the chat button and then click on the participant button, and now you've got your screen back. So I hope that helps. And if you had any confusion why yours wasn't set up that way, that's just the default.